Episode 4. So I got a really good question that came from one of the viewers, and the question was, how do I find a mentor? How do I find a mentor in this profession? How do I know who's a good mentor? What are some of those qualities? A lot of questions related to finding a mentor. What does a good mentor look like? Great question. So, to me, the first step in finding a mentor, number one, a lot of times those great mentors that's really beneficial, supportive, and helpful, they usually find you. They find you just based off of who you are and what you do. You don't have to do anything. You just continue to be who you are and just show up, and that person will find you more than likely. It could be a colleague, somebody in your cohort, could be a professor, could be a professor outside your department. It could be anybody, but typically, from my experience, some of the best mentors came from people who just found me, saw something in me, and it sparked something in them to just support me. So to me, that's the number one way of getting a great mentor is just being exactly who you are and that person finding you. One of the second ways of finding a great mentor is to seek out mentorship. Seeking out mentorship comes from people who you admire in the profession that you like, that you see that's doing work that you're doing, or you like the work that they're doing, and just reaching out, having a conversation. A lot of those mentorship opportunities can come from conferences. That's when you're kind of in the midst of being around so many different people in your same profession, doing some of the same work that you're doing, and you're in spaces where you can see them in more than just in the academia setting. Conferences is one of those great ways to just be around a lot of different people in the profession, get connected with other students, get connected with other faculty, and there's mentors all through conferences. So sometimes you can just connect with different people with that's at the conferences and connect with them to be a mentor. What that looks like is number one, just having a conversation, connecting with people that you may like and admire, talking to them, just having a general conversation. Through that conversation, you can build a connection, a relationship, and from that connection relationship, then you can ask them later to serve as your mentor. Now, some people you may ask, hey, you mind serving as a mentor? And mentorship looks different for everyone. So be specific in the things that you want and need from a mentor. So say for instance, for me as a mentee, I like for my mentor to check up on me once a week. Or I might like my mentor to check up on me once a month. Or I just want my mentor to be available. Can I just reach out to you whenever I feel the need to? So find out what you want and what's important to you, to your mentor, and share that with them. Another way is to reach out. If you're not going to a conference, just in general, you can find pretty much anybody through online or social media, through a Google search or a university search. Anybody that you're interested in reaching out to, you can connect with them. And the beauty of our profession, especially in counselor education, is there's only 1 to 2 degrees of separation, meaning you're only 1 or 2 people away from connecting with anyone in this profession across the United States. Especially if you're a person of color, it's even more. It's only 1 degree of separation if you're a person of color. So it's not a lot. It's not a lot of us in the profession as far as uh, doctor having a doctorate, being a black male, black female, or person of color. So it's easy to find us. Now, with that said, for us, especially people of color, it's this idea or assumption that if you're a person of color in this profession, that you're going to help me. That's your job. That's your role. You had to go through everything that you went through to get to where you are. So the least you would do is support. Truth be told, and this may be hard to swallow, there's a lot of people in the profession, people of color, who have no interest, no desire, and no intentions of mentoring you. All facts. If you haven't experienced it already, it's coming. It's on its way. There's no way you can get through this profession and not experience that at least one time where you may reach out to somebody to connect and they're not willing to help. And part of the reason that they're not willing to help, several reasons. Some people just don't have time. They don't have time. They don't have energy. They don't have the passion. They don't have the interest in mentoring you. It's hard to swallow because typically a lot of us have the expectation of if you went through all these things to be successful, then you'll be willing to help me. And that's not the case. So to overcome that is to, one, keep your expectations low for other people when it comes to mentorship. And it's a power of numbers, meaning if you want to find a mentor that could be helpful for you, reach out to at least 10 people And out of those 10 people, you may be able to connect with one. You only need one person to help you. Getting a crew of mentors is great, but one person can really be beneficial to help you throughout your program, throughout your journey. So to get that one, you got to reach out to at least 10. And the more people you reach out to, the more your numbers can increase. But from my experience, from my journey, it's the power of numbers. And I can reach out to 10 people and only expect to hear from maybe one or two. Well, I may hear from 4 or 5, but I'm only one or two really going to be able to help me the way that I need the help. It's really unfortunate, but it's the reality of this profession. It's the reality of mentorship. Everyone does not have a desire to mentor you, and everyone doesn't view mentoring the same. So find someone who views mentoring the same way that you do. What are some qualities of a great mentor? Which was another question from the viewer. Qualities of a great mentor is someone who's consistent. I cannot say that enough. Consistency is key, which means they may check on you every other week, once a month, but it's consistent. You don't have to find them, they typically find you. Or the opposite, you reach out to them, they answer. They answer the call, they answer the email, they respond to you consistently. If you find some inconsistencies within your mentorship relationship, that may be a difficult connection between you two, which happens. It's okay. That's why you have to have a team of mentors to make sure you're getting as many needs that you need met from different people. Sometimes it's hard to get all of your needs met from one particular mentor because everybody mentors differently. So if you have a crew of mentors, say for instance 3 mentors, you may be able to get all your needs met from all 3. Having one person that get all your needs met, it may or may not happen. So just be mindful of that. So reach out to those 10, expect to get one. Good qualities, consistency. Another quality is transferable information, meaning what they share with you is relevant to what you're dealing with. Some mentors can only share from their own perspective, which may be limited because it doesn't apply to you. For example, if my mentor is not a person of color and they're sharing their experience, it may be very different from my experience as a person of color. So they can help me and give me a lot of insight, but certain things that I may deal with as a person of color will be really hard for them to understand. They can empathize that, but they may not understand it because they don't live it. As a person of color, living these things can be very, very difficult. And it's hard to kind of understand that if I don't live it. So and being mindful, like just because a person of color doesn't mean they're going to be a great mentor. I have a lot of great mentors that don't look like me. I have a lot of great mentors who are from different cultures, different races, who look different than me. And it's just finding what works for you. And you have to know what works for you first before you can give that to anybody else. So consistency, communication, as long as they're communicating with you, you're getting your needs met. And mentorship is a two-way street. One thing I love about mentoring is I'm able to pour into someone. And typically at the beginning stages of mentorship, I'm constantly pouring in. I'm constantly just giving all of myself to this student, to this colleague, to this professional. And over time, they're able to pour into me, or they're able to pour into other people because I've been able to pour into them. So to me, mentorship is a cyclical process that never ends. It lasts forever because mentorship is the gift that keeps on giving. Even after you may lose a connection or contact with a mentor, you never forget how that mentor has been able to help you, support you, assist you along your journey. One of my favorite mentors I talk about all the time is Dr. Linwood Vereen, who's at Shippensburg University right now. He was at Syracuse when we first met, and just an example of how mentorship works and how that mentorship relationship came about. I was in my doc program, my chair, white female. We were having an intense conversation and I was done. I was pretty much over this whole doc program. I thought it was a game. I thought it was BS. A lot of the politics that was happening, I was not okay with it. And we were have heart-to-heart conversations in our office, and she just felt like, man, you on another level. On a scale of 1 to 10, you on 12, and like this could be difficult to have this energy and this passion and not able to get it out. So she's like, I want you to be able to get this out, and you're very humanistic. And I'm like, humanistic? What the hell are you talking about? And she said, I have someone in mind for you. And she said, it's the president of the Association of Humanistic Counselors, Dr. Linwood Vereen, I think he'll be a good fit for you to serve as a mentor. And part of it was because he's outside of my department. Second, he's a faculty member. Third, he's a Black male. And then he's in the counseling profession. So in her mind, this is, trifecta of more. Like this is someone who may be a good fit. Now, she didn't know Linwood. She met Linwood at a workshop or presentation. And from that interaction with him, she was just like, oh, he seems like a good guy. That's all she knew. So she took a risk, told me, hey, this is his information. Reach out to him and hopefully everything works out. So I decided to trust her and listen to her, and I reached out. So I emailed Linwood and mentioned, hey, I was referred to you by my chair, and she mentioned that, you're a great mentor. You may be able to assist me. These are some of the things that I'm dealing with. And I reached out to him and he connected with me, and the relationship has been going since that day. This was over about 3 years ago. So me and Linwood's old school. He's old school where I couldn't even find this guy online. He had one picture online. Like, who in 2020 has one picture online? This guy did. He had one picture online. So I had his stats. I had some information about him, but I only had one picture of him. So I didn't really know how he looked until I saw that one picture. But that's all I had to go by. And me and Linwood talked on the phone weekly, bi-weekly for about 6 months before we ever met in person, which is insane. There's people that you may connect with now that's in your same department you don't talk to like that. We talked consistently for 6 months, and we finally met at a conference in New Orleans. And it was so interesting how we met at this conference because I'm just going by this one picture, this image, and I had his voice. That was it. And I'm going down the escalator and he's coming up an escalator, and he has his daughter with him and she's jumping around, dancing and everything. I'm going down the escalator and I'm like, man, this guy looks familiar. And he's looking at me like I look familiar. And he pointed at me, I pointed at him. And I said, Linwood? He said, Jason? Oh, what's up? What's happening? It was instant connection. I go down the escalator, come back up and meet him at the escalator, give each other a big hug. Man, it's been on since then. That connection, that relationship just enhanced once we actually met in person. And he was a faculty member at Syracuse. And he told me, from that interaction, like, hey, do what you need to do for conference stuff. At the end of the night, hit me up. We're going to hang out for drinks. And I'm like, whoa, excuse me, drinks? You're a what? Like, it blew my mind because at Auburn University in my department, faculty didn't hang out with students. They didn't connect with students like that. It wasn't personal. It was strictly professional. So I was blown away that a faculty member was interested in hanging out with me. And that faculty member actually looked like me. I was shocked, totally shocked. So I'm like, cool. I'm finna hang out with Linwood tonight. So now I'm getting geeked. I'm getting a little confident in my who I am. I'm just like, as a doc student, I can't believe I get to do this. So I did the conference stuff. After conference, we went to Frenchman. I don't know if you're familiar, but Frenchman Street is where the grown folks hang out in New Orleans. Bourbon Street is where the kids at, college students or whatever, drunk, throwing up, acting a fool. But Frenchman is a little more laid back, a little more chill, a little more grown. So he's like, man, meet me over at Frenchman Street. We'll go out, have some drinks, listen to some music. And that's exactly what we did. And it was one of the best experiences I've ever had. We went to this place called the Carousel Bar. And the Carousel Bar is in a hotel in New Orleans. And in the Carousel Bar, it's like a rotating bar. So we're at the rotating bar, and the whole night, Linwood was just making sure I was okay. The whole night, he took care of me. He protected me, and I didn't buy any drinks the whole night. Imagine that. And you know how broke we are as doc students. I'm sorry, how broke y'all are as doc students. I'm not doc student anymore. Your boy far from broke. But anyway, so so hanging out with Linwood was one of the best days. And just this is a story that goes down in history. This is where that adoption of legacy, paying homage, contributing, supporting, helping, mentorship wise. So this is when I knew Linwood was that guy. Coolest cat ever, right? So we're at the bar, and it's this high power attorney talking all this noise about how great he is and how much money he got and this and that. And Linwood was like, I think I'm gonna go get us a few drinks. So he went to the guy who was talking all this mad noise about how great he is. And Linwood leaves and he's talking to this guy. Next thing you know, Linwood comes back with 2 drinks. He said, yeah, the guy bought us a couple of drinks. I'm like, how did he do this? Just being able to connect with people and being human. And the drink was called a Steve McQueen, which is an actor from way back in the day. And we're drinking Steve McQueen's, just throwing them back, having a good time. All professional, all grown, very mature. And just in case you want to make this on your own, Steve McQueen, it's Maker's Mark, uh, Chambord, Pepsi, and lime. So yes, I'm supporting drinks because self-care is important too. We'll talk about that later. So we were drinking Steve McQueen's all night, and it was like, yeah, this is cool, but we're men of color, we're black men, and we don't really roll with Steve McQueen like that. But who we do roll with is Stevie Wonder. So we renamed the drinks Stevie Wonders. So from that day forward, even to this day, when me and Linwood talk, it's like, hey man, when the last time you had a Stevie Wonder? So now we drink Stevie Wonders. And from that moment, Linwood taught me that, as a doc student, you don't pay for drinks when it comes to being a black male in this profession. You don't pay for drinks. As a faculty member or, someone who's finished the program, I take care of your drinks. Once you graduate, your job is to pay it forward. Your job is to pay homage and buy drinks for doc students that, you're cool with, that's professional. There was a disclaimer there, like, we're just not out buying drinks for everybody, but at least sponsoring a doc student for a meal or a drink. And I've held on to that since that day. So now being a faculty member, especially if you see this video, if you see me out, I got your first drink. Not all of them, but your first drink. And that was really special to me. So for the next 3 years, I never got a chance to buy Linwood a drink because he wouldn't allow it. Anytime we went to dinner, anytime we went to a bar, he took care of me every single time. And it got so bad for me, I started feeling bad. Like, man, you spending money like I'm one of your kids or something, and it was just his way of, this is how we pay it forward. That you take care of doc students. We don't have a lot of money. We're dealing with so many different things, stressed out. And that was one of the many ways that he was kind of paying it forward and paying homage by helping me out. So when I finally graduated 3 years later, when we went to a conference 3 years later, I was asked Dr. Branch, we met at a bar in the hotel, and for the first time I asked him, hey, can I buy you a drink? And he allowed me to buy him a drink. It was one of the happiest moments of my life, buying my mentor, Dr. Vereen, a drink. And by the way, we only drink Top Shelf. Anyway, another story for another day. But just being able to do that was a really special moment for me. And then several doc students from Auburn that were there, especially students of color, I was just adamant, like, hey, come here, let me get your drink, let me get your drink. And this is just an introduction to, this is paying homage, this is paying it forward. It doesn't have to be a drink, it could be anything, but that was just one of the things that worked for us. And it was really helpful. It was helpful for me, it was helpful for those doc students, and now I pay it forward any opportunity that I get. It's the small gestures that you can do. So that's my story about one of my favorite mentors, Linwood. I have so many more stories about him as we'll continue this journey about mentorship. So things to keep in mind: communication, consistency. Sometimes they find you. Reach out to more than one person. Don't get discouraged if someone's not willing to work with you or not willing to work with you the way you want them to. Your mentor will find you. And at the end of the day, if you can't find anybody, you have me through distance. I'll serve as your mentor through distance, or we can meet collectively. I got a lot of mentees, FYI. It's like another job, but I love it. I love exactly what I do as far as mentorship. So any way I can help you, support you, let me know. Hit those questions, any questions down below. I'll answer to the best of my ability, and I will see you soon.